Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and as always, I am talking with Chris, the Technician Aceto. This is Arnold Week 2017. It's February 27th, and Chris, we're here again. We're back to the Arnold Week, and it's incredible that it's crept up upon us already. The first IFBB Men's Pro Show of the year, and there's a lot of excitement surrounding that. Now, it's funny. My wife asked me before. I'm leaving on like Thursday night. I'm going to get in like midnight, so I'll be there for Friday and Saturday. My wife's like, "What is Chris coming in on Tuesday?" I said, "Probably."
No, Monday.
Oh, Monday.
Listen, here's why I'm coming in early. I would like to be there, like leave super early on Wednesday and be there Wednesday morning. But of course, I'm like you. I have to make a connection, and making a connection puts you there inevitably late in the day. And then I'm thinking, what if I'm not like Dave leaving from Florida. I'm leaving from Maine. What if it snows? I might miss the Wednesday flight, not get there till Thursday.
Right.
Which means I'm helping a few people in the show, and that's not always good. So I said, how about Tuesday? Well, I check on Tuesday flights, and there's like 2 flights left, and they're like double the amount of money as leaving on Monday. So I said, you know what? I'll just leave on Monday. Because, well, Dave, you know this too. When you're married and you have kids or you have a child, at least if I get to the hotel room on Monday, I get to what? You fill in the blank, the whole day.
Talk to them on the phone?
No, I get to work.
Oh, yeah. No, you're looking at it as an escape. Yeah, I would never be allowed to go that long. I don't even know if I would want to go that long. What the hell are you going to do there? I mean, aside from, like you said, work. I mean, but you're better than me. You could sit in a hotel room. I've never seen anything like it. As long as you have a couple cups of coffee, you'll sit in that hotel room and just watch guys coming in and out of your room all day. And go eat a muffin, Yeah. You're like some people become their fathers. You become Bob Grushkin.
Exactly. Listen,
Chris. Chris is
here's the most aggravating thing.
Chris has got a aggressive Italian father, and he's become an old Jewish man, basically.
Yeah.
At his old age.
Here's the classic. Is someone say, "Yeah, it's Thursday before show, but you look great. Good. What do you want me to do? Whatever you're doing." Okay, it's this, and this, and this. And then they realize, you don't know what I'm doing, do you? Well, I have a good idea. So whatever you did today or yesterday, you know what? It's working, so keep doing it.
All right, I want to do like a mock, like a reenactment of what was going to go on in your hotel room. Now, first of all, let's go over who you're helping. You're helping Max Charles. You're helping Cedric.
No, I'm not helping Max.
Oh, you're not helping Max. Okay.
No, so I got the pink slip from Max.
You got the pink slip. Okay, so Cedric
in the open.
Right.
And then I got I'm helping Jose, Guy, and Zane Watson, and then an amateur guy as well. Okay,
so we interviewed Zane Watson the other day. That I don't know if I don't think it's up yet. It'll probably be up by Monday, but a good interview. Let's talk about Guy walking into the hotel room. What goes on? Reenact the scene.
Guy is there. Of course, I just texted him yesterday. What day do you get there? He says Monday. I said, of course he gets there on Monday.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm surprised he hasn't there already.
He wants to get acclimated to the
Columbus, Ohio weather, which is the same as New Jersey. Yeah.
And so I'm going to go into his room. Let's see. I'll go into his room. He'll probably have on like a brand new shirt that says Quadro, whatever. Brand new sneakers that look like they just came from the Nike store, have never touched snow or earth. He'll have on long, like basketball. Like basketball players warm up in those long pants.
Yeah, I've seen him wear those. Yeah.
Whatever. Like those type of sweatpants. And he'll have everything lined up perfectly in his room. He'll have his food diary. He'll have all his supplements, and they'll probably go from if the supplement bottles 8 inches high, the other one 7 inches high, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, lined up perfectly from distributed on height. I'll open up the fridge, and he'll have all his food
labeled,
and no. Last year, Dave, he got some company delivered him his own refrigerator for his room. Like a refrigerator that you'd put in a house.
Oh, he had like a full refrigerator?
Because Columbus, wherever he stayed, didn't have like the, you know what I mean? They didn't have the.
It wasn't big enough for him, in other words.
Wasn't big enough. And then he'll have, for me, when I open up the fridge, guarantee to say, bro, that's for you. He'll have like 400 cans of diet soda.
Well, that's nice of him to at least think of you.
He'll have like
no one else thinks of you.
20 muffins, sushi, and
that's awesome. All right. Well, at least I like to hear the guy is thoughtful, and I always knew that about him. He wants you to be so comfortable that you don't want to leave his room. In other words.
Yeah. And then he'll start telling me he's peeled, and then I'll say, "Let's see what you look like," and in 30 seconds he'll tear off that quadro shirt, that hat, those sneakers, those long basketball pants, and he'll run through his quarter turns like it's the first call out.
And you'll do this. How many times a day will you do this with him?
I don't know, a million. And then he'll do this. And then I'll say, you look great. You look great. You look great for Monday. He'll say, right, yeah. And then he'll say, he'll say, effing bro. And then he'll start telling me the drama that happened the 3 days trying to get out of New Jersey. You're not going to believe this.
And then he'll tell you about how everyone else sucks in the lineup. You know,
he's going to tell me his stories,
Well, all right, so that's one extreme. The other extreme would be Cedric. Now, what happens with Cedric?
Cedric will probably, I don't know when Cedric's flying in, most likely Thursday night, maybe Friday.
He'll be on my flight probably, yeah, 12 midnight.
Cedric, we'll try to play like cool, like, yo, man, what's up, man? Yeah, give me like a little fist pump and maybe like a very distant hug, like he'll hug me from like 12 feet away because he's got long arms. What's up, man? What's up, man?
Will he pose for you?
No, he'll be relaxed. He'll be like, I'll have to drag him, like, I'll say, okay.
Let's see what you look like,
Yeah, let me see what you look like, and he'll blow that off by
like,
saying,
come on, man, you trying to film me for RX?
He's gonna say it's freezing here, the hotel room, no fridge in the room for these guys, and
guys got to
start cracking. Juan Morel, what's Juan Morel gonna do? What's Juan Morel gonna do with one of these refrigerators? He's got to eat 50,000 calories a day the last 3 days. His fridge ain't gonna hold Juan Morel's food.
Guy's got a huge refrigerator. Cedric's got like an ice chest. You know what I mean?
Service ready.
No, he's got an ice chest. Those like igloo things they sell, the disposable styrofoam. He's probably got one of those packed with ice from the ice machine.
Here's the first question I'll ask Cedric, and I'll try to follow up on it because I know he's going to look great.
Yeah.
What are you doing about tanning?
What will he say?
Oh, the spray tan folks that
folks
spray tan, folks that spray tan, not even Jan Tan or a pro tan, spray tan they'll call it.
Oh, you know a company,
yeah, the girl and then
what that means is that backstage someone will tan him, but that's what it means.
So and then I'll have he'll pose for me and he'll look nervous, like he's got bugged out eyes when he poses for me.
Yeah, and because he wants to know what you think, but he's afraid.
Yeah, and I'll say you look great, look crazy.
Yeah, and
he'll say, you being real with me, man? I'm not too full, am I? And I'll say, no, you're not too full. He says, am I flat? I'm gonna say, no, you're not flat. He says, so I'm right in the middle then. I'll say, yeah, you're good for today. Even though maybe he won't be because it could be Friday when he flies in. Right, but
what do you do if something's off on Cedric? Because you don't want to alarm him because that gets him all riled up and everything.
Yeah. I would say
because you don't know what he's eating. Because it could be like you said, room service. It could be something he bought at the airport. There's no definitive or thing that he's got in his refrigerator.
Yeah. It's so unpredictable with him. You can't be like Guy. Exactly. Cedric, you gotta
right.
You don't know what mood. You don't know what mood to get him in.
Yeah, Cedric's the kind of guy that you know how you have certain bodybuilders that will just call you up like a week and a half out and they'll be like, I ran out of everything.
Yeah.
What do you mean you ran out of everything? You've been running everything for 16 weeks. How could you run out a week and a half before? I don't have any left. That's Cedric. Whereas Guy has 14 shows worth of stuff in his drawer just in case backup, and probably has some in a safe somewhere, in case his house burns down,
Dave, but I'm going to text you a picture. I know you can't post it because Cedric will freak out, but I just we'll get a live on-air analysis.
Okay.
I was sending you a picture of 2 days after the Arnold from last year,
mm-hmm.
And let's see, it's 2 days after the Arnold.
How's that going to help us for this year? This analysis.
And then the other picture was yesterday.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Side by side comparison. You can do an analysis.
Wow, I know you didn't do that. Who did that? Cedric?
Yeah.
Which one's this year?
The one without the beautiful tan. See, he had the one on the left is the one the tan with, like coming off the show. So he was that day he was headed out to Australia.
He looks full. He looks fuller right now than he did last year.
Well, last year was one where people thought he was full, right?
I think I could think he could do some good damage. I think him being flat now would be a mistake because
you got it.
Then he flattens out too much when you give him the diuretics and stuff.
You got it.
All right. Well, look, the lineup is.
So we got Jose. Jose will get in there on. Let's see. I got it written down.
He'll be the most reasonable person to deal with because he's not neurotic and he's not like a slacker. So he's probably the best guy. You see him for 2 seconds. You look great.
Like this. Here's me knocking on his door. He's going to say, "That's Chris's knock. Hide that glass of wine, honey." Not her wine, his wine.
His wine,
and I'll go in, and he'll be probably in relaxed state of like nirvana, and because he looks his best, him looking his best is like him dropping some acid. Right? He'll say, "Come on in," and he never worries about anything. A guy don't worry really about anything. He may obsess about it, but there's a difference between obsession, meaning thinking about it over and over and over, and actually worrying about it.
Right.
And Jose would say, "Well, I'm 41." Jose won't worry about it, and Jose won't even think about it.
Right. No, he's a champion. He's won shows.
I mean, think of it.
Let's look at the difference. Jose is a champion. I mean, like when I talk about a champion, I mean a guy who's won a major show. Guy is still. He's won shows, obviously, but he's still nipping at that, trying to get to that major win. So he's still very, very nervous about it. And Cedric has never pulled off the major win yet, aside from a couple of smaller shows. And so he's also very nervous. I think once you win a big show, you get a level of confidence, or at least you would think you would. And I think that's very apparent when you talk to Jose. He's very confident. You ask him who's winning, he's like, "I'm winning." He's not hedging bets or anything like that. So I think he's got a good mindset.
Well, the best commentary on that, I think, ever retroactively was when Jay won the Olympia in 2006. He said something to me that I understood, but only he and Phil and Coleman and Dorian could intimately understand, which was, "Chris, if they had given me that 2001 show, I would have been dominant for years to come." And I didn't get it. And he said, because when you win the Mr. Olympia, mentally it puts you on a different level.
Yeah, he would have broke the record. He would have broke the record. He would have probably had 9 wins.
Yeah, mentally, and I think, I said that. It's funny, and I've always thought that. And, I remember, and I thought Phil looked crazy at the Olympia this year, and I was critical of him in 15 and 14. I mean, I'm critical because I'm biased, but 2, obviously, and he knows that. I've had few words with him, but I think in 2014, I saw him in Europe, and he said, I won that show, and I was nowhere near my best.
Yeah.
But, coming into 2016, he always has the advantage of being the champion, which doesn't mean you have an advantage of, the judges are going to necessarily think you're going to be the winner. But with every fiber of your being that you've waxed the entire lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So it talk about, it's equivalent to this, Dave. It's equivalent to saying, "Hey, let's go into business. Okay, what are we going to do? We're going to go to the bank and borrow $7 million. You have that debt load in the back of your mind. That's all the other competitors versus, let's start a new business. Oh, good. What's it cost? $7 million. How much do you have in the bank? Well, don't worry. We have $300 million in the bank.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it puts your mindset at a whole different perspective. And so Jose's got that perspective, but you can never have it like, I mean, Flex Lewis obviously has, by winning, he has that perspective of the advantage of having been the winner. Changes your mindset.
Mm-hmm. I agree, 100%. 100%. So we got a great show, obviously. Good lineup. I think there's going to be good competition. I can't really say that, while I believe that Cedric's the favorite, I don't by any means think that he is unbeatable. You have to look at the lineup, and in 2 seconds you can see Lionel Beyeke in there. You see Dallas McCarver in there. You see Juan Morel in there. And these are guys that, if Cedric's off, will beat him. And they have beaten him before. So it's not a foregone conclusion. And you got to put Fouad Abiad in there because his conditioning will be impeccable. I know that. We had him on the show on live on the road to the Arnold Classic this past week. And he's ready. And he even admittedly said he hurt his quad. But that's not stopping him, and that's the mindset of a true champion. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to the stage. He's a workhorse. That's where he gets his nickname Hoss from. Juan has been kind of under wraps. Really haven't seen much from him, which is probably a good sign. That probably means he looks really good. He's texted me a few times and said thanks for the the shout outs there, but. And I know he listens to the show, and I think he could be I think he could be a surprise guy. I think he can go in and win the whole show.
I almost listen to this. I almost asked you for his number yesterday to text him. I never text any competitor ever.
Right.
And like good luck in the show because I think in a pregame show I forgot. I forgot he was in the show, so I talked. By not even talking about him, it's like a big dig against him. I mean, I've done that at the Olympia, of course, with like all kinds of guys. We'd try to do top 5, and then you say, "What about this guy and this guy?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I forgot they're in the show."
Well, the best thing he did was take off time and let his body.
I totally agree,
and I think that's going to be because I think his body was just stale. I don't think it was that he doesn't look good. I think you can't just. I experienced this before. When you're a guy who is always shredded. You think you can do show after show after show after show because you're always shredded. But what happens is your body just doesn't respond. It looks stale. And that's the look he had. And I think that the time off is going to be great. He's going to look fresh. His muscles are going to be popping on stage. And I think that this is going to be a very dominant show for him. And I can't see him out of that top 3 or 4, but I think he's going to be a lot higher than people suspect.
I think he's going to be way higher. And you know what? Someone had told me recently, they're like, well, Juan looked like, trash at the New York Pro. I'm like, well, the year before he won it and looked phenomenal.
Yeah, he had done 40 shows too before that.
Yeah, well, and that's it. Last year, 2016, by the time New York rolled around, he was fried.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody can do.
No.
Nobody can do. I remember on this show, you did an interview maybe 3 years ago with Hyde or something, 4 years ago. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and Hyde said, I'm doing every show. And I said, that's a fat bodybuilder post-competition talking. I said, by the time the 5th show rolls around,
he'll be done.
He'll realize I'm so burnt out I just can't go on. And that's exactly what he did.
The only person who did every show in the history that I know is Darren Charles did every men's classic physique show last year, pro show. He did every one. I think he missed one or something like that. But the whole year he was dieting the whole year there was not one weekend where he wasn't in shape, But only Darren Charles could pull that off. And that was classic.
You're right. So the point is Hyde, Juan, no matter who they are in terms of being
Milos, remember Milos used to do a million shows?
Yeah, Milos could pull it off. Yeah, he could pull it off, though. But, I mean, he's an exception, but he's the mind.
Yeah.
It's hard to do shows over and over and over and not have your body just collapse on you.
Isn't Milos like isn't the guy Sisternino like the modern-day Milos?
Oh, yeah, with the journal and the... No, but there'll never be another Milos. Milos did all the shows, all the time.
Yeah.
How many shows has he did? 100 and something?
He might have the record for the most shows for all we know.
And, the thing about Milos, people who don't know Milos, he will tell you every single show what he did for that show to get that result.
Right? Oh, he has like a photographic memory like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That show does. I cut my carbs back to 0 for 8 days, and then I loaded for 4 days on 6,000 carbohydrates. I spilled on Thursday, but got rid of the water with a little diuretic on Friday. It just photographic memory.
Yeah, and he'll say who he should have beaten, who beat him, and he did.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Well, he competed too. He did all those shows, 100 shows, but he competed in a period where, it was Levrone, Dex.
Sure.
I mean,
there was good guys out there, and he still did well. He always had great conditioning on stage. He had small arms. That was his like drawback. Great shape.
Tremendous separation.
Small arms. How do you think that Dallas McCarver will do in this lineup?
I think what. Here's my take on Dallas. Is we saw him at the Olympia big, and we saw him in Chicago big, and he'll be quote big here. So it's more of the same.
Will he be sharper working with Chad than he was before?
Yeah, he'll be sharper working with Chad. But when I say he was big, he was still sharp to very, very sharp. I think that he'll be surprised when he stands next to Juan Morel.
Yeah, I think
that's how underrated Juan Morel is coming into the show. In other words, what Juan Morel, Juan's got width with a tiny waist. Juan's got gigantic pecs, fabulous classical midsection, great shoulders. And juxtapose that with Dallas. Dallas has great shoulders. He doesn't have a beautiful midsection, nice looking midsection that Juan has. Doesn't have the taper Juan has. Doesn't have the pecs Juan has.
Doesn't have the back either.
Yeah, well, we haven't turned him around.
Right, but he's got good legs, though.
Yeah, yes, he's got very good legs.
It'll be the two of them will match up.
Dave, I already said it on the show. I already said it a million times. People want to force Steve Kuklo down bodybuilders' audiences' throats. And I say that forcing down the throats because I me, I'm still bitter from Brazil when he won Brazil. In other words, he didn't deserve it. We said he didn't deserve it. Right. We said it on tape. Remember we tried to get Neil Hill in there to say it on tape?
Yeah, and Neil had a nervous breakdown, but
that's because he did have a nervous breakdown. That's because the head judge there who called the show for
Lee Thompson.
Steve. Yeah. He essentially went over and had a strong conversation with Neil. We still went on the record saying that the placing was a disaster.
Yeah. What's the point of the Kuklo bring up?
So the point is Kuklo, Compton, and Dallas, I think, are remarkably hyped, like they are going to be Jay Cutler.
Right. Isn't that really they want the next Jay Cutler? That's what everyone's looking for.
Yeah. But why don't you just, celebrate that we got, celebrate Dexter more, as much as I don't like Dexter. You know what I mean? Dexter's, okay, you know what is funny, Dave? Take Dexter at any level of off-season and pre-contest look in a tank top in the gym and put Dallas, Compton, and even Kuklo in tank tops next to him training in the gym. Take 10 bodybuilders who don't know who those three are, with fairly decent eyes, I would say, and say which of those four are going to win the show coming up. No one would pick Dexter.
No, because he'd be the smallest guy up there. But
until he gets under the lights, and I don't mean that he's small. Until he gets under the lights and next to people, then you realize, total mass is not the be-all, end-all.
Right. Well,
so I think that's my objective analysis, the best way of looking at it, of Dallas McCarver. What do you think?
I think Chad will bring him in tight. I think that Dallas actually will look better flatter than fuller. I know that he's a big guy, but I think when he's full, his midsection has a problem. I think that I like him flatter when he shows more detail, because I think he still has a good enough structure that he can pull that off. So I think if they go for that ultra full look, he could go over. He could spill over, and he could look like a disaster, in certain poses. He might look impressive, like standing there, but he might not look as aesthetic, from certain angles. Because you got a lot of Cedric's an aesthetic bodybuilder, Juan is an aesthetic bodybuilder, Lionel Beyeke is an aesthetic bodybuilder. Even Max Schultz to a certain degree is. So, I mean, you put a big mass of guy up there who maybe is not showing as much detail as these guys, and he's going to get crushed, I think, by them. But I think you bring in a guy like Dallas with like paper thin, ultra shredded, like beyond what everyone else is. Now he's got it. Even if he's a little flat, he's a level above them now in terms of conditioning, and that compensates, I think, for the fact that maybe he doesn't have the structure or the tie-ins that they have, but the mass combined with that conditioning, I think, is a very dangerous package. I don't know what Chad has planned, but I think that less is better with Dallas. I mean, that's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Like I said, we talked about Iron Debate actually will air tonight, Monday night, but we talked about the fact that the 212 class in this show might be more competitive than the Open. Because we have a lot of former champions here, which we don't have in that open class. We have the defending champion, Hide Yamagishi. We have, Jose, who won the year before. We have Ahmad Ashkanani, who just placed second at the Olympia and beat Jose. We have David Henry, who's a former 202 Olympia champ. So we got a really, really, really tough lineup here in the 212 class. And I know, look, I said it right off the bat. I don't think anyone's beaten Jose because he's so focused on this show. He knew last year was not his best year. I think he has something to prove. I think he trained his ass off for this show. I only think that the only reason I think he lost to Ashkanani at the Olympia was he wasn't his best. And same thing has to be said, about the Arnold last year. I think that was a very close decision, and I think it still could have gone Jose's way. So I think if he comes back 10% better, which I think he'll be more than that, I don't think anyone touches him.
Yeah, it's good. You know what? That show, the 212 prejudge in the last 2 years, 3 years, I think Steve Weinberg has been the head judge.
Yeah.
I would say, I don't know how easy or hard it was for him to judge, but it was a show that was judged. Things were mixed up. In other words, different people. Sometimes they put someone in the middle to occupy the middle to just occupy the middle, I think. Entertainment value. I mean, I think they know who, okay, this guy's essentially the winner. But let's just put someone else in the middle out of these three guys for a second, and then let's switch them up. But last year, and even the year before, they switched people up to try to figure out, where each person should fall. Essentially, who should win. The only the lighting in that 212 prejudging is not the best lighting. It's in the venue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the. Isn't it in the?
I think they might have moved it to the
stage.
To the stage. I gotta look. I gotta look it up because. No, I think it's in the Expo. I think you're right. I think they Expo. They do the 212 in the Expo, and then they do the finals at night. But look, I think it's exciting because I think we got the Olympia lineup here minus Flex Lewis, which is a good thing that Flex Lewis isn't here because Flex Lewis would probably win the show easy. So I'm glad that he's not here, and because it makes it way, way more competitive. And like I said, all those guys I named, any one of those guys could win, and you can't count Guy Cisternino out too because he's going to bring probably the best conditioning in the class. So those are my top 5 guys right there. And then you have a couple other wild card, Zane Watson, Kyung-Won Kang from Korea, who could certainly do some damage. Charles Dixon, how do I not mention Charles Dixon in that one? So
it's the same thing, Dave, of us handicapping the Olympia last year. Yeah. Of course you forget Charles Dixon. That's how I was like, oh, I forgot about this guy. I forgot about that guy. It's a deep lineup.
Yeah, it is, and that makes it exciting. So I'm super excited to see how that plays out.
Is my chair less squeaky, by the way? I got a new chair.
Yes. I have to say, I haven't heard one squeak. That's good.
I had this chair, Dave.
A lot of people don't like the squeaky chair.
Yeah, my previous chair.
20 years?
I had it 14 years.
Yeah, I figured.
And I saw it at the salvage store, right? And it's like it's a one of a kind chair. I mean, it weighs an enormous amount of weight. It's leather and hand carved wood, and it was a great price. So I said to the guy, "I'll take it." He said, "I'm not holding this for you." I said, "Let me give you a deposit on it, like $250. I'll give you a deposit, and I'll come pick it up."
How much was the chair?
The chair was $500.
Wow, that's the old one or the new one?
The old one. Oh. The new one was $59 from Staples.
And it doesn't squeak yet.
So I ran down to U-Haul to rent like a van or something.
Right.
And they say they only had like just shy of an 18-wheeler.
Oh my God, that's like... Did you take it?
Listen, I took it. And I went down to the salvage place to pick it up, and it was like putting a penny on a king-size bed. And I show up at my house, and my wife says, "What what is that? What truck is trying to,
come down my block?
Trying to get up the driveway."
Yeah.
I had to have my friend, who's a truck driver, come and get it into my driveway back up.
Why didn't you just take it off in the street and roll it into your driveway? It wasn't like it was heavy.
Because I don't think, dude. I got too many things going on.
That's so funny.
So I finally. One of the wheels broke off, so it was crooked. It was tilted. And then the leather had surprisingly had a tear in it. That was probably one of my kids with like an X-Acto knife trying to carve their name in it.
Right.
And so I ended up getting a new chair, which it has an amazing effect on my back. And
it actually
doesn't squeak. It doesn't squeak.
Right.
It doesn't squeak.
I like it. Thank you for doing that. And because our viewers will thank us also. That's the one complaint we get about the technician is that his chair squeaks. And the one kid who bought you the Derek who bought you the earphones is always pissed off that you don't wear his earphones.
Well, you know what the problem is, Derek, is the earphones are so like airtight. That I don't know if I'm yelling. I can't hear anything.
You know what you're not doing is when you plug the earphones in, you have to put on the Skype settings, you can set the speakers to go through the earphones. So everything you're speaking and I'm speaking, you'll hear through your earphones. Isn't that what you're hearing?
Yeah, but the earphones are so... Even though it comes through the earphone, yes.
Are you hearing yourself speak through the earphones too?
I can't even hear myself.
No, then you don't have them. You don't have the Skype setting correct. I'll tell you how to do it.
I'll have to adjust it.
On the commercial break, we'll adjust it. All right. I wanted to just mention that the men's physique and the women's physique this year again are a cattle call. Basically, anyone who wants to go, or I think you have to have placed or something like that in the show. So there's about 30 people in each division. What they'll do is they'll do a prejudging where no one will pose. They'll just have call outs. They'll eliminate it down to top 10, and then the top 10 will pose at the night show. That's what they're going to do. For those two divisions, the Fitness International obviously will be featured by Oksana Groshina. We had her on the she'll be on, I don't know if we posted it yet. I think it'll be posted this week. The interview I did with her, she's got an all-new routine. She's using those. You ever see people, the circus rings they're called, Chris? They're like these big metal things, and you can almost your whole body can fit in them, and you can spin around in them and do all kinds of. She learned a new skill. She's been working on it all year, on these rings that she's going to be bringing to the Arnold. It should be a crazy. It's either going to be she's either going to kill herself or it's going to be an incredible routine, which I'm sure it'll be incredible. So I'm excited for that because I didn't like her Michael Jackson routine last year, but I've liked every other routine. So this one should be an awesome one. Figure International. It's the Olympia lineup. It's Latoya Watts. It's Sydney Gillen. It's Candace Lewis. I mean, the lineup is spectacular. I mean, if you want to really see a great figure show, this is the Olympia lineup. Bikini International should be as well a great event. The top girls in the world. Courtney King, the reigning Olympia champ, will be there, and India Paulino, who's a defending champion. So it's going to be tremendous competition in that. The Arnold people really got lucky this year. They got a great lineup. They also have a pro wheelchair again. They're going to be doing this year, which I love to see because I remember for years and years and years they had the wheelchair nationals, and all these guys who turned pro didn't have anywhere to go afterwards, so they just kind of retired. Now they have now they have a place to go. So there's like eight guys in it. So last year's champion was Harold Kelly. He'll be back again, try to defend, and I'm looking forward to it. So what else is going on? Let me see. Let me look at my notes here, Chris, before we go to... I know we're going to have to go to a commercial break pretty soon, but... I see that the MD has really upped their game over there. They're really hardcore this month. They put Paige Hathaway on the cover. Did you see that?
Oh, they could...
Well, I didn't really see it because I don't really see the magazine anywhere, but I've seen it online. They've been promoting it at least.
I heard Tiffany Trump is on the next cover. Not even Ivanka Trump. Tiffany Trump.
They should put Kim Kardashian on the cover. Might as well go there, right? She'll get a lot more days.
Kim has a fabulous focal point.
Yeah. Chris was reading Blackman's description of Paige Hathaway and what her greatest attributes are. Rather than say she's got a great ass, he's like, she's got tremendous focal points. That's tremendous focal points. And I'm sure he didn't even use that. Probably Ron Harris wrote she had a great butt because Ron writes all his articles, and then Steve probably crossed it off with his red pen and wrote, great focal points. If she doesn't have striated glutes, he's not interested. Anyway, that magazine, it's like a joke.
I'm hoping David Bay, if you're listening, which you
probably is.
Probably are. You are more than welcome to do like pre-game shows with us for the Arnold this week.
Yeah, I think he told me he's got some special project lined up that he's trying to set up with. I don't know. So I don't want to say who. Maybe he doesn't want me to say anything. But
you can tell me off the air.
Yeah, well, the International Bodybuilding Hall of Fame, hosted by Bob Goldman. We cover that every year. We stream it. We'll be doing it again this year. The inductees are Lou Ferrigno, Bill Kazmaier, one of the world's strongest men of all time, Apollo Ono, who's an 8-time Olympic speed skating medalist, if you remember him, Dr. Tom Rosendich, who's the founder of the United States Sports Academy, and my personal favorite, Herschel Walker, who obviously won the Heisman Trophy.
Tremendous. You see that the documentary 30 and 30.
I haven't seen that. I don't know if I saw the Herschel Walker one. I think I did.
Tremendous Herschel Walker story.
He's a
you can ask him if he was ever ask him how it was to play football under the President of the United States.
Yeah, I'm going to ask him about Donald Trump. Yeah, he probably thinks he's the greatest
because
thing of all time.
I think Herschel was also on The Apprentice as well.
Herschel Walker is an interesting story because when Donald Trump and a lot of people don't even know this, Donald Trump started that United States Football League. I don't know if he started it, but he was one of the owners of the Generals, the New York Generals. He somehow got the 2 Heisman Trophy winners 2 years in a row. He got Doug Flutie and he got Herschel Walker on the same team. They weren't even that good, but he got them on the same team. How he did it, I don't know. He must have thrown oodles of money at them, and. So I'm sure Herschel. If Herschel didn't go to the NFL, he had to have been paid a tremendous amount of money to avert going to the NFL because every college football player, that's their dream. I want to play in the NFL, and so.
Sure.
But I'll ask him about that. But he still went on to join the Dallas Cowboys and have a great career after the USFL was over. So
he looks remarkably young still.
Yeah, he's genetic. Talking about genetic freaks. He went on. He was a mixed martial artist after that. Did you know that he was he fought, and stuff like that, in all kinds of competitions. I got to ask him about that because I don't know that much about his career after football. But he's just a natural athlete. He can do anything. I believe that if he wanted to be a bodybuilder, he'd probably be a great bodybuilder too.
Yeah, I agree.
He's one of those guys that like people were like, man, you should have gone into bodybuilding. And he's like, well, I made $100 million.
$50 million, yeah.
Playing football. Maybe think about Ronnie Coleman. If Ronnie Coleman was as great a football player as he was a bodybuilder, think about how much more money he would have right now. He wouldn't be hawking supplements, nutritional supplements all over the world. That's for sure.
Mike Francois always said that Nasser at like 340 would, and John Paul Fuchs, whatever his name is, at 340, they'd make great linemen in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know if they can move though, but yeah, those 400-pound linemen
that's
can
what I told,
move.
That's what I told Mike. He said, yeah, they probably could move, but who could move them? Right?
Yeah. Mike Katz played football, pro football.
Oh yeah, that's right. He played.
The Jets.
Yeah.
So my anyway, so that will be on Saturday afternoon. We'll be covering that event, the International Sports Hall of Fame. I love that event, and I wouldn't miss that. That's one of my favorite. That's probably one of my most exciting parts of the weekend. Now, obviously, all our contest coverage will be sponsored by Quest Nutrition this weekend. So we'll have a huge presence at the Quest Nutrition booth, which is exciting also because they're going to be showcasing all these new foods, ketogenic foods, all these keto snacks. They got bars and cookies, and they got so much crazy stuff. I can't wait to go there and say it's the one place I look forward to going to because usually I'm starving to death at the Arnold because there's no time to eat. So if I get on Friday afternoon after the prejudging, I can go to the Quest booth and I can gobble down all their goodies over there.
Isn't it ironic that Quest Nutrition is coming out with keto products and Paige Hathaway is on the cover of MD in the same month?
Why is that ironic?
No, because remember, I mean, wasn't the original, or potentially one of the original issues MD had with you is a low-carb keto diet.
Yeah, Steve didn't like that I was an advocate.
Blackman thought it would give you heart attacks, right?
No, he just thought, you can't build muscle on it. Because he sticks to it. He's on a ketogenic diet. He doesn't eat any carbs.
Yeah, I've eaten with him. I know what he eats. No carbs.
No, and so he's like, I can't build muscle. He just wanted to do anything that was opposite of what I thought. He would advocate. He didn't even care if it had any science-based anything. He would just advocate anything that was the opposite of what I was advocating. And then he also was like, MD hardcore. Now he's putting like chicks on the cover, So that tells you how desperate he is. But we shouldn't even waste any time talking about him. I do got to tell you a funny story about my dad. My dad called me yesterday. My dad's losing his memory really bad now. Called me yesterday, left 4 messages with 3 minutes apart, all the same message. Not realizing that he left it 3 minutes ago. He wanted me to pick him up cigars. This is a new thing. He smokes cigars.
What's it, with weed or without weed?
No weed. Just he's a cigar. Like he's smoking. My aunt's like telling me he's like smoking so many of these things. I don't even know what he's doing. I'm afraid he's going to burn down his house. That's what I'm afraid
You're going to say that
because he'll fall asleep. He won't remember. So he called me 14 times, like literally 6 messages he left, and then I called him back, or I think he called me again, and he asked me the same thing. I said, Dad, you just left 4 messages asking me the same thing, and I had to remind him that I don't live there because so I can't bring him cigars, and I said, where's Aunt Patty? Your sister, she'll get you that. Yeah, I don't know where she is. So I got him to admit that he wasn't out of them because he said he was out of them. Then he said, well, I have 2 left. I said, you're fine. When Aunt Patty gets home, she'll buy. So he called me back at least 6 more times. The same story. I don't know if you have any time. I don't know if you're planning on stopping over here, but I need cigars. And he gives me the brand. I said, Dad, we've had this conversation 14 times already. I said, I know you don't remember, but I don't live there. I said, you're not out of cigars. And I went through all this. So he's like, all right, fine. So he hung up. 10 minutes later, he calls back. He's like, I forgot it was your birthday last week. I said, it's all right, Dad. Don't worry about it. So I want to take you out to eat. When can we go out to eat? I said, Dad, I don't live there. I have to keep reminding him this. And then he called me back 4 more times in succession every couple minutes telling me, I forgot your birthday. I feel so guilty. I'm like, Dad, please. So I texted my aunt, and I said, man, my father's memory is really going pretty bad, huh? He called me 40 times, telling me the same story. She's like, that's nothing. I said, what do you mean that's nothing? She said, it's the story I'm going to tell you is funny, but it's not. It's like it's depressing at the same time, but you have to laugh at it because my dad is such a character. He was in the kitchen, and I guess my dad will not let me get anyone to fix his kitchen. His kitchen looks like he lives in the most rundown tenement you could ever imagine. It's falling apart, the kitchen. Everything's being held together by rubber bands. And the sink is dripping. So he's screaming at my aunt, stop that dripping sink! He goes, the Japanese use this as a form of torture. Don't you know that? Like my aunt is torturing him with the dripping sink. Meanwhile, he won't let anyone come in there and replace the sink. A few minutes later, she's like, not 3 minutes later, he says to her, so what's my status now? She's like, what do you mean your status? What are you talking about? He's like, I'm a prisoner of war here. He goes, what's my status? So now he doesn't even know that he's in his own house. He thinks he's a prisoner of war. So my dad is not doing well. But it's funny. He's got some. At least my dad is making up interesting stories for himself. You know how, Chris? Some people just they just go down miserably. He's a creative memory loss guy.
I've told you, the minute he stops being creative, then you have to start to worry.
Yeah. Well, he's been writing poetry. He had stopped for a while, but he's writing again, and he's reading.
Why don't you do this? Yeah, you have to post or send me out in an email one of his latest.
I gotta have him send it to me though. I have to have my aunt take it.
Because you know what? I think because he's so talented in poetry, that when you read his poetry, you probably think, it's okay. Yeah, it's kind of like eating at the best restaurant all the time. Right. You say, the food's here's okay. Someone else eats there with you. They say, I can't believe, Dave, this restaurant. You're like, yeah, it's good. It used to be better.
Yeah. Like that. But I'm shocked that the poetry, some of the stuff he writes is not great, but a lot of it is really deep and pretty insightful. And when you look at the other poetry out there today, most of it's crap. I mean, I'm shocked that my dad has not gotten any critical acclaim, probably just because he hasn't put it in front of the right eyes. Maybe after when he's dead, I'll have to republish all his works. The greatest works of Sal Palumbo. So there was someone emailed me, Chris, asking me about creatine monohydrate and hair loss, and I'm like, why would creatine cause hair loss? I had to do a little Google search, and there was an article that came up. There was one journal article that showed that if in certain people they feel that creatine monohydrate may raise DHT levels. No mechanism. No one elucidates any mechanism of that. And then the high DHT obviously can increase hair loss. I don't buy it. So anyone out there who's worried about hair loss and creatine, to me, looking at that one study, weak, very weak. So don't get too crazy on that. I don't believe it. What else? We got to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about a little more stuff related to the Arnold and maybe do some Ask Dave and Aceto questions. Guys, stay tuned. We will be back in 2 minutes.
A legendary name in hardcore supplementation. Iron Mag Labs. 100% original, patent pending andro compounds. The most effective, hardcore, groundbreaking bodybuilding supplements in the world. Iron Mag Labs. Revolutionizing hardcore supplementation for more than a decade. Visit ironmaglabs.com. ironmaglabs.com.
Hi, I'm Dave Palumbo, and I just had a protein shake made with Quest Nutrition's new salted caramel protein powder. And I can tell you this, it's on a whole new level. It's a total reinvention of the protein shake. The taste is incredible, and its creamy texture and richness make it taste like a real caramel milkshake. It's incredibly low carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 22 grams of protein in every serving. No soy, and it's gluten-free. Just add water, ice, a scoop of protein, and shake it up. It's that easy. I actually look forward to drinking this shake. And Quest Nutrition has got a total of 7 different flavors. They come in convenient single-serving packets so you can mix and match. Check out loveyourproteinpowder.com for more information on Quest protein powders and some delicious shake inspirations.
Welcome back to Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo talking with the technician, Chris Aceto, on this Arnold 2017 special week. And one of the other things that is great about the Arnold Classic, Chris, is the expo. I mean, I would have to say, I've been to a lot. I've been to FIBO, which is one of the biggest expos, and I'm sure you've been there too. But I think that the Arnold Expo is the best one in the world, to be honest with you, that I've ever been to, at least. The most excitement, the most booths, the most celebrity, social media darlings, whatever you want to call them. It just seems to have it all. And I look forward to it because of that. It's crazy to walk through there on Saturday. I usually try to stay out of there on Saturday, but if you do go to the Arnold Classic, the best day to go is Sunday, believe it or not, because actually you want to get there on Friday because all the celebrities are there, but Saturday's too crazy to walk through. But on Sunday, everyone starts selling stuff at reduced prices and discounts, and if you wait till the bitter end, like 5 o'clock right before they close, you can get some good deals because people will negotiate with you. So if you want, sometimes it's risky not to buy what you want because it could sell out, but if it doesn't and you get lucky, sometimes you can get some good deals. I've given away some stellar deals at the Species Nutrition booth at the end of the day because I didn't want to take the stuff back with me. So sometimes people really make out pretty good. And all the people who hang out at the end, they're always the same people every year. They know. They got the whole strategy down. They wait to the bitter end, then they come and they try to buy their stuff. And that's just part of the whole amazing process of the Arnold. If you're going to go, you go for all 3 days. You don't just go for 2 days. I'm telling you. Like, I'm leaving on Sunday because I got kids. I got a kid and I got stuff to do. But normally Sunday is the best day there because the shows are over. It's more relaxed. There's more time you can spend in the expo. Everyone's kind of chilling out. All the people competed on Friday and Saturday are usually at booths signing pictures. So it's a good day to get interviews and to talk to people. And like I said, I really like it. And you guys, if you're at the Arnold, you must check out the Quest Nutrition booth because they are going to have an enormous setup. They got to have the biggest booth there. They're sponsoring all our coverage the whole weekend. So without Quest Nutrition, we wouldn't even be there. And it's going to be a great weekend, like I said, because of all the activities from the Hall of Fame to all the pro shows. Plus, you got the amateur. I'm not even talking about the amateur show because we don't even have time to cover that. We used to cover both, but it happens simultaneously. We can't do that. But the amateur show is top notch. I mean, it's a pro qualifier in all the divisions. Then, if you want to go see, they have
someone. How's this? The amateur is at the same time as what? The 212 or
something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but you know what? They jam in some. You really could make this Arnold Sports Festival an entire week. That's how many activities are going on.
I'm sure the city of Columbus would love to make it a full week.
They probably would. But you know what? Then some people would admit, I don't know if it would work. I think they would probably make more money. I really do. Because I think that people would come in, watch the amateur earlier in the week, and then they would stay for the pro stuff. I think that still would be good. I would just, and then you could do your expo for 4 days instead of 3 days, and the vendors would love that, I'm sure. They would get more value for their purchase of a booth. And, Amanda and I used to watch the gymnastics on Sunday night. They would have the finals of the top girls. As we were coming out of the expo, we would go and watch gymnastics. I mean, if you can see this fencing in the lobby, you see them. These guys are always warming up in the lobby. They got painting. They have people painting pictures of bodybuilders like in the lobby. I mean, there's so much going on at that place that you can't even. I can't give it a description when I explain it or I highlight a few because there's so much going on. Then there's other arenas that have like track and field and all kinds of other sports that they have going on at the same time.
They had, Dave, last year, I just happened to catch it out of the corner of my eye, a powerlifting meet for little kids.
Yeah, they have the junior Olympic type stuff, yeah.
It was unbelievable to watch. It was like Olympic lifting. Clean and jerk, snatch, focal point press. That's a Blackman dig. Not the traditional like U.S. powerlifting, but it was amazing to watch because the kids, there's 10-year-olds doing a clean and jerk. It's amazing, and the parents forget about it, dude. You talk about screaming and hooting and hollering and cheering on their kids.
Yeah,
it was really exciting.
Sure, I'm sure. Well, I got a letter from one of our Swedish fans, and the whole situation over there in Sweden, bodybuilding, with them profiling bodybuilders and randomly testing them and arresting them, taking their license away. And one of our listeners sent me an email. He said at the Swedish Championships, so this would be the equivalent, I guess, of the NPC National Championships in Miami every year. The Swedish Championships, when you come off stage after posing, random athletes have to reach down and grab a bag and a ball. The ball tells you whether or not you have to take a urine test for performance-enhancing drugs. If you fail the test, you'll get suspended from competing in Sweden for 4 years and a lifetime ban on the national team. You'll also have your name on the Swedish leg of the IFBB official homepage so that anyone can see that you actually failed the drug test. They want to show the world that Sweden is a clean nation, which of course it's not. And entering the European or World Championships facing countries where PEDs can be legally obtained without a prescription, it's just ridiculous, this guy says. Next.
Well, they want to feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
Why don't they just get rid of the iPhone as well? Go back to the dark ages.
Yeah. The Swedish Federation also stepped in and said...
Dave, that's a whole topic for Iron Debate. And you know who shouldn't be debating it? Right. Chris Aceto. You know who should be debating it? You, Romano, and somebody from Sweden who made that rule.
Well,
because you know
also,
what? It'd be nice to hear their perspective. So before I torpedo and bully their remarkable naivete, it'd be nice to hear their perspective.
Yeah. Well, this guy failed the drug test.
I can applaud, the idea that they want, clean athletes. I can. But the real world is that athletes are not clean. And then the second part of that is, in the real world, a lot of athletes do not desire to be clean. That's the faulty part of this. Is there's a lot of people who are great athletes who are so extreme in whatever they do. Their desire to be the best at whatever sport that they do outside of bodybuilding. They'll do anything to get better, including using PEDs.
Yep.
Meaning, there's always this idea of, the pressure, I just did it because the only reason I did it is because my competition was doing it. That's true. But sometimes with a lot of great athletes, the only reason they wanted to do it is they wanted to break massive barriers.
Right. Well, this guy got busted using steroids last summer. He said he got a $3,000 fine, which he said, I know I'm okay with because I knew it was illegal. I take responsibility. But he'll also have to now pass 3 clean tests to keep his driver's license before August. So if he fails any of these tests, he loses his driver's license too. So they're pretty serious over there. I mean, if you're a bodybuilder in Sweden, move. That's my best advice to you, because you're not going to be able to live there. It sucks that's the case, but if you're really passionate about bodybuilding and you're good and you have good potential, you got to get out of there. I mean, that's the only solution. And it's like when the Jews were fleeing, certain European countries because of religious freedom. You got to get out. You can't stay where you're not wanted. And it's stupid to get arrested and to have convictions against you and obviously be sanctioned with fines and losing your license. Who the hell wants to deal with that crap just because you're trying to live your passion? It's ridiculous. So that's my take on the whole thing. What else?
Yeah,
Let me. I wanted.
Well, you did see. Speaking of PEDs, who's the biker? I have dementia. The famous biker who won, who was caught with PEDs. Neil.
Oh,
why am I thinking Neil
Lance
Armstrong?
Lance Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong.
I'm thinking motorcycles. You're talking about cycling.
Neil Armstrong.
Lance Armstrong.
I think who's it?
Lance.
The Postal Service is suing him for $100 million.
Right, and I noticed. Did you notice that? What's his name? Floyd Landis also is involved in the lawsuit. It's both of them.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Floyd Landis was part of the what's his name's team, of Lance Armstrong's team, his whole career. Then when Lance retired, Floyd won the Tour de France the following year. He tested positive. Okay, they stripped his title, and then he cleaned out, and then Lance made the comeback, and he said, "I want to get back on your team, Lance." And Lance's like, "No, you're not coming back on the team because you failed the drug test. It's a black eye on us." He's like, "But come on, what do you mean? I'm a great rider, He's like, "Nope, sorry, can't do it." So that really pissed off Floyd Landis. So when all the accusations came about from regarding Lance, Floyd is like, "You know what? Fuck this guy. This guy fucked me." So he went and ratted him out and said, "No, this is what Lance did," and that was the smoking gun, so to speak. So now he's suing. Not only is the post office suing Lance, but he's suing Lance because he wants reparations too, and he's part of the class action suit. Now the interesting thing is that Lance's attorneys basically say, "Hey, look, yeah, Lance used whatever, but the U.S. Postal Service got fucking some crazy freaking advertising. They made 10 times the money because of Lance's popularity, whether it was stripped away later or not. During that time period, they got what they paid for, and it's a pretty good argument,
Yeah, well, you got to prove that a damage,
right?
A financial damage. It's you remember when Twin Lab sued Joita, right?
Right. Yeah.
The Twin Lab could not prove that they had damages. In other words, they could not advertise. WIDA wouldn't let Twin Lab advertise in the WIDA publications, and Twin Lab could not. My understanding.
Well, while the
Twin Lab
lawsuit
could not prove that they.
No, the problem was while the lawsuit was going on, the Bleckman brothers went and bought Muscular Development magazine from Pearly Raiders' widow, whatever, and they started that, and they started advertising in there. But by the time that the lawsuit came to trial, Twin Lab was like 10 times the company it was before that. So their argument was that WIDA was inhibiting them from doing business, but the judge said, doing business, your business is 10 times what it was. So they dismissed the lawsuit. But
when Lance, I used to put twice the amount of stamps that I needed to on my letters when Lance was
Lance.
just because of Lance. So if
Right.
I need to testify under oath,
That's right.
on that trial.
Yeah. A lot of people have been asking me about the Dave Palumbo Experience app, and I just want to bring it up. I don't like to beat this stuff over people's heads, but a lot of people, a lot of guys and girls, I have a lot of women also who subscribe to the app, are looking for information. They want to read my past articles. They want to see all the videos I've done. It's a compilation of everything I've done. Plus, we put new content up daily. Workouts, we put up diets, we put up supplement regimens, plus, I do I answer everyone's questions. So anyone who's a member of the app can ask me questions anytime they want. They submit it to the feedback, and I answer them all day long. Plus, the best questions I take, and I do a Q&A, a video Q&A every week, which is exclusive just to the app people. So it's like being a member of a Dave Palumbo club, essentially, where you get inside information from me. And I have a partner who puts up the content. I give him the content. He puts it up every single day. It's a tremendous, tremendous resource if you're looking to learn and continue to learn on a daily basis. A lot of times, I could teach my Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course, but there's no continuation of it. People want to continue with me. And this is a great way to do it. You go to your app store, whether it be the Android store or the iPhone store, and you subscribe on there. It's $29 a month, and I'm telling you, you'll get your money's worth. I promise you. If you're looking for knowledge, this is where you go. Also, I wanted to bring up one other thing. A lot of people have been asking me about Roid test. We were out of them. We should be back in stock on Tuesday. But what Roid test is, and Chris, we've discussed this before, it's a test that tests your anabolic steroids to see if they're legitimate. Now, we've seen a lot of busts go down recently. We were talking about the wellness gym that went, actually it was the Iron Addicts gym in Miami got busted. They were selling, out of the gym, they had a clinic called Wellness Clinic, which it really wasn't a clinic. The guy who owned the gym pretended to be the doctor. And they were basically selling anabolic steroids to anyone who wanted to on their website. And they made, according to the documents, over $10 million over a 2-year period. And a lot of people, they were getting the raws, I guess, from China. And a lot of stuff they were selling, some of it was good and some of it wasn't. And that's pretty much par for the course, Chris, with all this underground stuff that goes on. People make their own stuff. They order the powders from China. They make their own steroids, and they put them out under their own label. The problem is you don't know if the stuff is good or not. And especially if you're a woman using, anabolics, you really don't want to be taking the wrong type of stuff. So Bill Llewellyn developed this test called Roid test. And it's a very simple, very cheap test. I'm the exclusive distributor in the United States. You can purchase these kits at DavePalumbo.com, and you basically just put a very tiny amount of substrate in there, like a teeny drop. You don't want to overdo it. Or you shave off the edge of a little pill, or put some powder in there, whatever you're testing, and it will tell you what you got. It's an amazing thing. You go to my website, I have the whole thing explained, how you buy the stuff and everything like that. But people who are using anabolics out there have to test their stuff, because you guys do not know what you're using. I know you think, oh, this guy's a good guy. He says he uses it. Don't trust anyone. Back in the day, Chris, when we used anabolics back in the day, the old sales pitch was, Woody Haney's using this. Dorian Yates is using this stuff, right?
It's like a stock tip.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Dorian probably didn't even heard of this stuff.
I talked to E.F. Hutton himself.
Yeah.
He bought this stock.
Exactly. So, Yeah, you got to be careful with that. So make sure you check that out. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, subscribe. We are over 71,000 subscriptions, Chris. I believe we'll break 75, like I predicted, hopefully by the end of the Arnold. That's my goal. And obviously, I want 100,000 by the end of the year, so I can get the silver button from YouTube for my efforts. Now, I have a couple of. I don't know if you have any Ask Dave questions, but I have some Ask Aceto questions here, so I'm going to read them. We only got like 15 minutes left, so we got to move along. Let's see what we got here. All right. This one's not popping up. My computer froze. Do you have a question for me in the meantime?
Let's see.
Oh, I got it. Okay. On the next Heavy Muscle Radio Show, my question for Chris is, what was Chris Aceto's favorite year and why in his bodybuilding career back in his day? Same question to you, Dave. It's from our friend Paul Cohen.
You know what? It sounds horrible. I didn't have a favorite year because I love bodybuilding, but I don't love it that much, if that makes sense. Where I said, that year was just so good. You know, even a show or, for me or anyone else, rather. It's odd, but I don't get attached. People say, that was I remember I was, at that show and so won it and it was the greatest. And, it just.
So you don't have one. I'll tell you mine. Mine is the 98 Olympia in Madison Square Garden, New York City, when Ronnie Coleman narrowly defeated Flex Wheeler. It was the first year after Dorian had retired, and we knew we were going to get a newly crowned Mr. Olympia. The expo was actually in Madison Square Garden. It was in the hallways of the Olympia, if you remember. And Metrics and Peak Training Journal had joined forces, and they had a booth there. But I'll never forget, Greg Kovacs was at the Muscle Tech booth, which had the most prominent booth there. And the booths weren't big because the hallways were narrow. And Greg was sitting there, and he weighed 430 pounds. And I'm not exaggerating. He was 430 pounds. They weighed him in on a cargo scale. And he was the biggest human being to this day I've ever seen. He was so big. And him and I hung out, I remember. And the hotel rooms where they had us, it was like the New Yorker hotel. The hotel rooms were so small that at the time, my girlfriend at the time, Barbara, had to go home. Like, she couldn't stay. She had to go home and come back the next day because it was so tiny. It was like the two of us couldn't fit in there. We couldn't work on the computer at the same time or whatever we were doing. It was crazy. But that was my most memorable Olympia.
That Olympia, Dave, I tried to drive. It's a 6-hour drive. I usually take the bus to New York.
Yeah.
And this is a true story. The rain was so intense, so crazy, Dave. I mean, people, rain, cats and dogs. It was raining, like it was the second coming of Noah's Ark. And I thought, I got tickets for the Olympia. Can I go? I have to get out of here. I have to go. And I was worried about the visibility.
Yeah.
So can you imagine someone who, I just said, well, I don't love bodybuilding that much, or, I'm not that into it. I got tickets for the Olympia. I'm excited to go, and I know Dorian's not in it. So at that point in which I decide, screw the visibility. If it takes 6 hours, it might take me 15 hours to drive. It was raining that hard and for hours upon hours upon hours, and I think it was like 2 to 3 days. It was historic. Wow. What happened was there's only two ways south out of Maine. There's Route 1, the coastal route, and Interstate 95. And both of those roads in Maine were washed out, so I couldn't even get out of the state.
Oh, my God.
Is that nuts or what?
So you didn't get there?
You couldn't get there.
Oh, so you were not at that Olympia?
I didn't get to go.
Oh, wow. For me, it was easy. I just got on the Long Island Railroad, and the Long Island Railroad ends in Madison Square Garden. So that was easy.
You must remember that if it was raining like that in Maine, historic rainfall. How was it? It
was raining. I think it was raining there. Now that you mentioned, but we never had to go outside. Everything was right there. It was. I think we had to walk from a block from the hotel to the Madison Square Garden. It was really not too bad.
This is how crazy the rain was. I lived at the beach, and my car was parked at the beach, and not that the tide came up, but it somehow flooded out the parking area. And the insurance company didn't even show up. They just contacted me by phone and said, we're writing you a check for that car. We're going to come get it. Apparently, the management of the
Joe
building...
Carrier must have been involved with that one.
It was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. All right, Chris, is there anything you regret from your bodybuilding days as a competitor and would do differently if you can do it again? And if you
No,
thought
I have no regrets.
No regrets, okay.
I have no regrets of past things that I've done, because you do them at that point in time thinking they're the right thing to do. So you can't look back on things in bodybuilding or not in bodybuilding and worry about them retroactively. There's nothing you can go back and do. And in fact, that's one of regret is usually what hampers people from moving forward in bodybuilding, business, relationships. It's the regret of what's already been done,
right? And
the fear of the future. Those two will just immobilize people.
I agree. I'm looking out my back window that shows my whole backyard. You know the window I'm talking about, the one I said you would love.
Yep.
And I see Johnny Styles and his wife Karine in my backyard. They're supposed to be here. They're a little early, I guess. So that was pretty funny. I'm just watching. I just see all of a sudden them walking across my backyard. It's pretty funny. Anyway, let's get to the next question. This is from Derek, the guy who bought you the headphones.
Yeah.
He's very verbose. Dave, I thought I'd forward this to you and the technician, since you guys brought up your worries of dementia, that both your dads had dementia, Alzheimer's. My granddad had Alzheimer's and my great aunt had dementia. If you'd like to be able to keep the show going as long as possible, we'd like to see keep the show going as long as possible. The videos are below. He sent some video links. I got to look at them. I don't know. But the questions is, number one, do you think Gunter Schlickamp should have won the O2 Olympia? This was the year that Coleman looked off, smaller and not full, and Gunter got fifth. The crowd went nuts. They were mad. They ended up giving Gunter a standing ovation. Gunter beat Coleman soon after the GNC show of strength.
Do I think, is that a question for me?
Yes, you.
Well, I wasn't there, one, because Jay didn't compete that year.
Right.
And, but based on pictures there, based on pictures, you probably could make the argument for Gunter. I know Gunter in real life is very tall and wide, which is impressive in real life. It was just one of those weird shows that Coleman came in looking nothing like Ronnie Coleman. I mean, that was his probably worst Mr. Olympia showing, because he was just so, flat for Coleman.
Yeah. Yeah, Coleman was off that year. Definitely off. But he definitely came back the following year and killed it in 03. So.
Yeah. Well, you can run through those, the probably what went through his head, likely. I mean, 2001, by many accounts, he was lucky to win.
Right. He didn't look bad. Just Jay looked really good that year.
Yeah. And then, maybe he tried to just come in crazy, wacky peeled to slam his foot down in 2002, and it backfired on him. So smartly, he realized, okay, if I tried to get crazy peeled and it didn't work for my body, then I'm just going to do the slingshot and come in crazy gigantic. And that worked well.
All right. You got any questions for me?
Yeah. You want 1, 1,000?
Give me 2-3 questions.
Okay. Dave, did you ever use vet products in the 90s, such as Drive, Spectriol, Tribolin, etc., that originated from Australia?
I have tried them, and they were terrific. And I'll tell you one thing that's really funny. Maybe I shouldn't say the name of the person who asked me. One of your clients just recently called me up and asked me, "Hey, what do you think about Drive?" I said,
Text me who that is.
What? Can you
guess?
Who
is that? You don't say it on the air.
All right. Yeah, no, I'm going through. But it's one of your clients, your good clients. And he said, is that stuff any good? I said, yeah, we used to use it back in the day, because methandryl dipropionate, which is a component of Drive. Drive is, I think it's equipoise and methandryl dipropionate. And then there was something else. It was another weird name. What were the other names you gave me? Spectriol. I think Spectriol was methandryl dipropionate with Decker or something like that. They had different combos. And the methandroxypropionate was supposed to open up your androgen receptors and make them more receptive to the other drugs. I don't know if it did. I liked it, though. I got a good response from it, probably because it was a drug that I had never used before. But it was good stuff. It wasn't as readily available here as I would have liked, but at some point in my career, I know I had access to some of it, and I bought a few bottles of it.
It sounds sexy, right? Opens up the receptors.
Yeah. Yep. That was Bill Phillips wrote about that in his anabolic reference guide. Yep. That's how we all
open up the receptors. Yeah. Dear Dave, you always suggest to train body parts no more than once a week. How about natural bodybuilders and protein synthesis? Since if you're on PEDs, your protein synthesis stays elevated way longer, and therefore training a body part like once a week is justifiable. But if you are not on PEDs, the protein synthesis stays elevated only like a maximum of 36 hours. So in this case, it would be beneficial to train the muscle more often. Not to death, obviously, but like Lee Haney said, stimulate, don't annihilate.
No, well, the act of breaking down muscle tissue is a stimulus, but it's not. It doesn't create the anabolism. The anabolism occurs when you're resting and you're recovering. So as a natural lifter, you should lift less, not more, because you're not recovering as fast. People on steroids recover much, much quicker. So if anything, you can make an argument for them training more frequently. But I'm always of the belief that what anabolic steroids and growth hormone really do for a bodybuilder is they amplify everything they do. So it doesn't mean to do more or less. It means do the same thing you're doing, diet just as hard, but everything will work better. And that's what anabolics do. They don't mean do more, okay, or do less. Do the same and get better results.
Yeah. What about this? Let's see. Let's see this question. Hello, like the show, especially now when you have started talking more about bodybuilding. You always make fun of Steve Blackman, which makes me wonder how he could reach the position he has. Just contacts, or has he done anything good?
Money. He owned a nutrition company called Twin Lab, him and his family, and they made millions and millions of dollars. And when he sold the company, he had $100 million. Each of his brothers all had $100 million. And money is really, the pinnacle of what enables you to be powerful in this industry. And especially, he decided to take that money, and rather than go on vacation with it, he wanted to apply it to bodybuilding. And he bought. The family had owned Muscular Development magazine, but he bought it out from his brothers, and he decided he was going to take this magazine and make it a hardcore magazine. And he did a great job with that from 2001 through 2009 for those 8 years. I mean, MD was the heyday. I mean, we were over almost 600 pages at one point, and then the internet took over and gobbled up, the magazine industry, which we knew was going to happen. Blackman didn't make any effort to combat that, and that's why he's in the position he's in right now. But the bottom line is that he was a very good magazine publisher. You can't deny it. Look, I'm the first person to take my hat off. I learned a lot from that guy. Very smart, kind of stubborn in his ways, but he knew the magazine industry. The problem is the magazine industry is dead now, and he doesn't know the internet industry.
Yeah, well, to add to that, very smart people, very smart people tend to be stuck in their ways, right?
Yeah, he's also not a young man. It's hard to start being flexible at 65 years old, and changing the way you think about things. I mean, so I don't blame him. If I were him, I would just retire, and I would just be like, what, fuck this. I'm moving to Florida or wherever he wants to move to, and just go to Venice Beach and hang out with all the bodybuilders there, and just be be a regular person. I mean, what's at this point?
Okay, dear Dave, when muscle glycogen stores are full at say 500 grams and 600 to 700 grams are eaten daily, what happens to the excess carbs? Are they stored as body fat?
Yes.
Okay, because according to Lyle McDonald's in-depth articles, he states that carbs are rarely, if ever, stored as fat or converted to fat through de novo lipogenesis.
Carbs are not stored as fat?
According to Lyle McDonald's in-depth articles, he states that carbs are rarely, if ever, stored as fat or converted to fat through de novo lipogenesis.
I don't know where he got that from. That's pretty... I think this person is misinterpreting. He might be, if he would have said protein is very rarely stored as fat, I would have said yes. But carbs, that's the most easy. That's the easiest macronutrient to turn into fat. I guess, and my dog agrees with that. As you can hear her in the backdrop, she's completely in agreement with that. All right, last question because we got to go.
Okay, you want a Bleckman question? People are infatuated with Bleckman.
All right, ask a Bleckman question.
Hey, Dave, if your boy Steve Bleckman offered you a job tomorrow to run MD Online and let bygones be bygones and with an open pocketbook, would you do it? Caveat, you would have to stop RxMuscle. Just curious because the show sucks anyway.
No, I wouldn't because I wouldn't get paid. I don't work for free. And on that note, we're at the end of another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. Until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
It sure does, and we'll see you out in Columbus, Ohio.